Jeez. Oh
Leave that
man.
in for the blooper. For the bloop, to leave
No, I'm leaving it in the entire intro. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Prog Connection, episode 5. We are featuring an extremely special guest, the lead singer and bass player for one of the legendary 90s prog bands of the U.S., Echolyn. Here we are. Ray Weston, how are we doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today, guys.
Is there anything that the audience should know about you before we get into our big questions?
Um, I guess I have a normal day job just like everybody else. We used to in the 90s the band was our full means of support, but that has since changed years ago. I work as a nurse's aide on a in a lockdown dementia unit. So I work with dementia patients every day.
Oh wow.
That's nice.
So it's a very hard but very fulfilling job. So, that's
How
who
did
I
you
am during the day.
how did you get into that?
Um, I used to work construction and my parents got ill, my mother first. And she did not want to go to the hospital when the time came to really take care of her. So she stayed at home and it just felt natural to, you know, take care of take care of her. So I figured as if I could take care of my mother and my father when he passed, I could take care of anybody's mother or father or, sister, brother. So it felt natural. And I was missing something in my life at that time. And it turned out to be their final gift to me was the proverbial light bulb going off and, showing me what I should be doing until I retire.
Wow. That's incredible. Um I think the general idea here is that in terms of the questions that we will be asking you, it's going to be we have a few different subtopics to cover when it comes down to these general questions because
Sure.
we should be able to get through this with a very informed view on your take on Echolyn and how you perceive the band and your work. So I think the first question belongs to Dad. Go ahead.
We know that when you released As the World, you were on a major recording contract,
Hmm.
and I take it that's not the case anymore, that you're releasing things on your own.
Yes.
I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about your experience being on the major label and how it's changed for you.
Well, to the ramping up to being signed, we started playing live, I guess, in 90, and we kind of turned into a machine. The way we approached the live experience, we'd get in hours early, set up our own lights, movies, props, and all different kinds of things. I used to go through costume changes in the beginning because I wasn't um, comfortable just standing up there and being a lead singer. I was a bass player in a band before with Brett up until about 89. And so, like I was saying, we were a machine. We used to draw a fairly decent amount of people. And I guess around 93, we hooked up with a gentleman from his wife was a DJ for one of the big stations in Philadelphia, and he used to work for Epic Records. So he got Suffocating the Bloom to his buddy Michael Kaplan in New York, and Michael called us one day out of the blue. We were practicing for a gig that night, and he asked us to play, I think it was Winter Through for him over the phone. And apparently he was giggling like a little kid. And we took a few meetings with him and Alan Mintz, I think was the lawyer at the time for Sony. And we thought our dreams had finally come true. I think once we signed, I went to my boss and I quit my job right away, and this was going to be it. As you know, the album didn't come out till '96, so that was 3 years of just sitting around and waiting for things to do, waiting for the album to come out. We tried to tour, but we ran out of money for the tour budget, so we had to go back to day jobs to support ourselves and wait for the album to come out. So it was a hurry up and wait kind of thing. It was very we were very lucky to get signed, but then it broke the band up in the long run because of all the different hassles we had to go through with waiting and people needing money. And it was a shame, but it was I wouldn't trade the experience again. We'd do it all over again. I know I would. We got to go to Nashville for 4 months and live there and do the album. So there's a lot of great memories and a lot of bad memories. So
No,
it weighs itself out. And now we're back to doing it ourselves and having more fun than we used to have.
so Zoltan and I play in a prog rock band as well right now called Benjamin's Kite, and
Mhm.
uh, way back in the '80s, when before Zoli was ever born, I had a major record deal back then with A&M Records, and so
Nice.
I probably had many of the same experiences as you. We were I was working in way back then. I was working in a paper factory,
Hmm.
and it so happened that the guy who owned the company, his wife was a piano teacher, and she was really into Tears for Fears and wanted to take on some young guys in some kind of a pop band. And we heard they they put their son to work as a summer job, and we got to know their son. And he said, "Oh, my mom loves music, and if you guys got a demo tape, bring it over." So we sort of passed ourselves off as kind of more of a pop band than we were, because we were a pretty serious prog band. And uh, you know, and we did eventually get a lot of money from this woman, and she still, even when we were on a major deal, she was still funding everything.
Wow.
But we were still signed. I mean, she got us, management and all that kind of stuff, and she got us signed up to the major deal because it was the way, it was sort of how the manager thought that's the way you go about doing it. So it doesn't
Hmm.
matter, even if you're self-funding, go sign it up for, get yourself a deal, and they did get us a deal. I think, I would think it was probably a little bit easier when you say, well, you don't have to put up any money for this band to get all the money.
Yeah.
I think we signed with her for like $7 million or something at the time. It was for like 7 albums. Of course, it never got to 7 albums. We did make one album, and we did get in one of this. We had a charting single in Canada, get to
Nice.
number 18 on the AOR charts. But my experience is that because a lot of it is because of Canadian content rules,
Hmm.
that that your manager can basically almost guarantee that you'll get played in rotation on a lot of radio stations across Canada, because there's Canadian content rules and they have to play something. And if you happen to be the first one that week coming out with a new album on a Canadian record label, you'll get played and they'll put you in
Wow.
rotation.
Very
And
nice.
but my experience with was mostly overall bad, because for the album, like if someone was to listen to that first album from '91 now, they would probably get the impression that we were more like Toto or something. Because I mean, we did have Terry Brown of Rush fame producing us, so we had a
Hmm.
great producer. But my guess is that he was pushed by the record company, which was really be through this woman who was giving us the money, our financier,
Hmm.
and our manager at the time, to say, any song that's long, cut it down. So the long instrumental passages disappeared.
Wow.
And at the time, we were like, okay, well, we got a major deal. We shouldn't complain too much. Yeah, we'll just cut that bit out. So, an
Wow.
an 8 minute song becomes 3.5.
So they can fit it on the radio, right?
It was like every song had to be of radio
Radio
playable
ready.
format. And then
We
when we went forward onto the trying to do the next album, which we never did, every demo that we came to them, they said, no, that's no good because, and I was a keyboard player, still am.
Mhm.
And it was always that too long and too many keyboards. That was the common
Wow.
complaint. Too long, too
Wow.
much keyboards. Got to get rid of all
Wow.
the, try to sound more like Aerosmith. And I'm like, I don't like Aerosmith. I don't want to sound like Aerosmith.
But they didn't have keyboards, so that's what,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think
So
maybe the idea was to get rid of me.
uh,
Ditch the
well,
keyboard player.
we got lucky. The album was basically written before we were introduced to the producer that was going to work with us, and he really didn't do as far as he had a few ideas, but for the most part, everything you hear is how we wrote it. We had no problems with timing. They didn't ask us to cut anything. They knew what they were signing. I think Michael had wanted to get um I for lack of word I think John Wetton and Eddie Jobson together to do something, but they wouldn't do it. So they found us. We were a young band at the time, and it just worked out for us in the end. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because the band broke up probably in '97, I think,
Mhm.
because like I said, the pressure that it put on everybody. But we got back together in 2000, and here we are. 24 years later from that, we're still strong.
Yeah, we broke up in 93 and I just got back together with guys in 2017. But the original drummer, he's drummed a little bit on some of the stuff we've done, but most of the drumming is now is Zoltan because he's right here and we can do it's very easy. He's living in the same house as me. It's easy to get in contact with the drummer.
Yes, yes, it is. You know where he lives. You can find him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. John?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, this is going to be a simple question. I'm going to kind of make it like a two-parter because he'll just answer this question real quick. Okay. The first question I have, and this is probably the most popular one. Will there be reissues or remasters of albums after the My era, from My onwards?
Um, we're hoping that with the proceeds from the album that we're going to get ready to put out this year, that we'll be able to go back and have a little extra cash in the bank and go back and do a lot more of the maybe some remastering, issue some of them on vinyl, go back and do T-shirts for a lot of those albums because I think after the As World album or after the May album, we didn't get a chance to put any to do any artwork on T-shirts or anything like that.
Are
So we're
those
gonna
going to be on CD or just vinyl? Or you want to do both? Hopefully both, because I'm a CD collector.
yeah I have stacks and stacks of CDs next to me here in my music room.
Yeah.
So we still have plenty of CDs, but I think we will try to do vinyl as well.
Also, in conjunction with that question, I only own two albums by y'all because it's very hard to find. I own this one, As the
Mhm.
World. I is my favorite, and the
Well, thank you.
question I've had for years since I've had this album since I was 18 years when it first came out. I'm now 40. Okay,
Okay.
is the Epic, even though it's all one track, was it recording in one take, or did you produce like a bunch of songs and form it like most prog bands do, or they do?
No, it was purposely written to be one song.
Did you record it all in one take?
No, we're not that we're not that good.
Okay.
Oh.
But
No,
did
we
you?
did it. We would do it in chunks.
Hmm.
Okay.
But everything was written and done. Um, I think even Paul, who was the drummer at the time, needed to, you make mistakes and you're like, I know I could do that fill better. So you go back and you go and, and try those different parts again. But it was written in chunks. Um, I should say recorded in chunks, but written to be able to
Right.
play, as one song. So
Hmm.
hopefully that answers what you were getting
No,
at.
like was okay, and the other part too, it was even though it's a long song, it was written in chunks. Was the whole song already rewritten and then y'all recorded it in chunks, or did you record, or was the song written throughout a period of time with through the whole band? Also, you know what I mean by
No,
that?
that, even though it's just about 50 minutes long, that was one of the easiest songs that we have written. It just
Wow.
seemed to
Wow.
come very naturally, or natural for us at that time, for the four of us to get together and write. Um,
Mm.
I forget where I was going. I apologize. Um, it it was just so easy to play. It may have taken us a few takes to get it down, but everything was written before we went into record. That's the way we like to work. Everything
Right.
is written, parts are done, so that way when you get into the studio, it's time effective. There's no noodling around. Well, we have fun, but you go in and you do your job. That was our thing. It's a job, so you go in and you do your job, and you get to come out of the booth or whatever and have a beer while the other guy gets in.
Yeah. Um, so as for my question, this one's
I'm not going to answer any of your questions.
um it was what are your musical tastes and what influenced you to become the member of Echolyn that you are?
Um, I grew up. My father used to sing in the church choir.
Mm.
So I grew up in a Catholic family. So I sang in the choir with him, and listened to a lot of AM radio growing up. So like Nat King Cole, Dionne Warwick. Um, who are some of the other people I have listed? Like Lauren Hee Haw. I don't know if you guys or your father may know Hee Haw. It was a country show. Uh, so a lot of like Johnny Cash, a lot of the early Roy Clark, um, guys like that. Cliff Edwards, one of the singer of in the Disney, some of the Disney movies. Like give a little whistle, give a little whistle. Just his, when you really get into listening to his voice, it's unbelievable. Burt Bacharach, like I said, Dionne Warwick. Some of the newer, like Nat King Cole was one of my favorites. And then I got turned on to Thin Lizzy, uh, Robin Trower. Of course, once I went to the library one afternoon during the summer, and scrolling through the albums, I found Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. I had never heard of the band before. I had never seen artwork like that before on the album. I turned it over and there were, like naked ladies on the thing. I've never, that was my first introduction to a naked lady. Like, oh my God, what is this? So I
Jeez.
took it home and I played it, and it changed my life. I don't think if
Yeah.
I had found that album that day, I may not be in Echolyn at this time, believe it or not. But I started singing along to that. I even recorded it on 8-track because I had to take the album back um, to the library.
Mm.
So, you know, high school rolls around. I see a picture of on the back of Circus magazine of a band called YNT, Yesterday and
Oh,
Today,
yeah.
and I'll be honest, the picture, the guy was playing a white Fender Precision, and that was like, wow, I really like the look of that guitar. So I started playing the bass. I'll be honest, I've never heard a YNT song in my life, but that picture inspired me to pick up a bass. Flash forward a few years later, I was driving an armored car for a company called Federal Armored Express, and Brett Stad worked for a salesman for them. And I came in on a Friday, and I had a leather jacket on, and the leather jacket had a guitar pin. Like, oh, you play guitars? Like, I play the bass. Like, oh, that's great. My son's band needs a bass player. And I'm thinking, oh, how old is your son? Oh, he's 17. Like, right, your little son's band needs a bass player. I'm at that point, I think I was 23, 24 at the time. And it took a couple weeks, but he hounded me enough that I went over, and they were playing uh, Starship Trooper, note for
Oh.
note. And I'm like, huh? I can't play that. I said, I know the song I'm a Man by Chicago. And they're like, all right, yeah, we know that too. Let's play that. So, we hit it off, and that was 1985, and now it's 2024, and Brett and I are still playing in bands together.
Wow.
Long story longer. That's how I got into Echolyn.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
I'm a
And that's
diehard
I just want to add, that's the same way Chris got into Echolyn too. Through I think it was Brett's brother Tim and his father were shopping at American Eagle one day, and Tim and Chris went to high school together.
Wow.
And Brett's father, hey, you play keyboards? My son's band needs a keyboard player. And so thanks to Mr. Call, Brett's dad, for getting everybody together.
Oh yeah. No kidding. Holy. Some great records. Dad?
I was going to start asking a little bit more about the recording techniques that you're using nowadays, because there was a video that Zoltan showed me that was on YouTube. I think it was of Brett doing guitar parts for whatever album's next, right, Zoe? Was that it?
I believe so.
And I saw that he was he using the Pro, what is that called, Zoe?
It's Pro Tools,
Pro
I
Tools?
believe.
Yeah.
Pro Tools. So, I mean, back in the day when I recorded the album that came out in 1991 with Terry Brown, we were in Toronto, in Metalworks, was the studio that the band Triumph built.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were doing a traditional type of recording, acoustic drums, and there was acoustic piano there, and I think they had a Hammond. I didn't even have to bring a Hammond. I think the only thing that was ever on that album that was a sample would have been the Mellotron, because I didn't have a Mellotron. So there's a Mellotron on one of the songs, String Sounds, and I think that at the time we paid for a guy to come in. He was a keyboard player, but he was the kind of guy who carried all these. I thought that time was like floppy disks in looked like a guitar case or something. And he opened it up and he said, "What do you need?" I goes, "Well, this song here is supposed to have a flute." He goes, "Oh, I got a sample of Ian Anderson." I said, "That'll work." It was that kind of a thing. But everything else, all the piano and organ, everything, I had to play it. I had to play it. I had to keep going until I got it right. But when I decided to start doing things in 2017, and I called up the guy who was the original drummer, and he said, "Well, I've got a studio now." I said, he goes, "If you want to record stuff again," he said, "come down here and talk to our engineer." I said, "Okay." So immediately I learned that, oh, this guy wants to do everything on a computer. Doesn't want you to play anything live. And so we've been doing it that way just because, well, it is kind of better for me. I mean, yes, if I was, really at the playing ability that I was in 1990 when I was 25, probably, I could do all the live takes, but, I'm almost 60. So plus I'm actually just recovering from a stroke right now. So, I mean, I can't even use my left hand. So I'm a one-handed keyboard player. I mean, it's okay. I can play everything I can play, especially if you're doing it with a mouse and you can fix the mistakes. I can do things with one hand.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling all right, pal. It could be a scary time. For what when we first started recording the first couple of albums, Brett had gone to school to learn how to record and do things himself, so he could bypass the studios. We also built our own studio on the Coles property. I guess back when we were the band that we were in before was Narcissus back in the 80s, and we built a barn for ourselves to practice and to record. And Brett was good enough that he was able to buy a 16 track reel-to-reel, a Fostech. I think that he still has, that we did the first two albums on. And then with Suffocating, since we ran out of room on the 16 track, we went to a local company called Forge Recording Studios. And we went to tape for that. And I think I know when we did the album in Nashville, we were running on the tape as well. But after we got back together, we started using Pro Tools. I mean, we're still doing everything live, but we'll get the drums and maybe at that time, I think the drums and bass were recorded together. And then Tom and Paul would go back and fix any mistakes that they had. And then they would layer the guitar and keyboard over top of that. And then once they were finished, I'd go in and sing and Brett would sing. And then we'd go in and do the harmonies. But we still do the same thing. For this album, Brett, Chris, and I, we got together at Chris's place in Delaware and then up here at Brett's place. And we wrote the music on just guitar, bass, and piano. Once we got to the drums, we went to another place that we use now, great friends of ours at Catapult Studio in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. And still running Pro Tools there, but I think they have a huge Neve board that we run everything into, and it just makes it a lot easier for Brett. And it's time effective to just do it on computer now into Pro Tools, and it makes things a lot easier for Brett and for everybody, really, for the recording process.
That makes sense. I think that the convenience of having everything on a computer instead of having all the drawbars of an actual physical soundboard is probably a lot more convenient. That
Come on,
just makes
Zoltan.
sense.
The real reason that you like the way we're recording now is because we can fix all of your mistakes.
I mean, yes, absolutely. That is exactly the reason. That's exactly
You can
it.
you move the bass drum beat to the right spot where it should be. You can expand it and see every little. In a way, that's I find that a little intimidating because I'm not the best player. I do make I'm not going to say a lot of mistakes, but there's a lot of finger noise on my when I play, and Brett can get in there and edit those finger noises out. So it's a little intimidating that way.
No.
There was just a little quick story on that. When we played Nearfest, when we did
2000.
May, we went back and I was the bass player for doing that. We played the song. Sorry if you can hear the dog barking. I think the kids are home bringing with dinner. In Every Garden, and that was a very Tom had played that when we played it originally, and that was very hard bass part to play and sing. And we went back and we listened to it and like, wow, I didn't do as bad as I thought I did. I was proud of myself. No, that was Brett. Brett went in and recorded the bass, went back in and recorded the bass part. And now every time we go, it's like, Brett, I don't remember playing that riff. Was that me or you? Like, no, Ray. Everything you have on the album is you. It's not me. But, with the wonder of Pro Tools, he can go back in and do stuff like that. But no, it's a lot easier and, like I said, more time effective for everybody.
Indeed, I think that makes sense. John, your next question.
Okay, this second question, it's gonna have a punchline to it. So before
All right.
you answer it, listen to this. Okay, because this one's coming. The mine are simple. When will the new Echolyn album be out? And also, do I need to change my address for my future home or to the funeral parlor because I may be dead by the time it's out?
Just keep the cards handy. Don't put the change of address cards in yet. No, we are in the final stages. Brett is everything's recorded, mixed. Brett is now working with another producer that we're not going to name just yet, who is helping with the final mixes and really adding Brett has everything singing, and what this guy is doing is just opening everything up. He created space for Brett's space, which is just lifting all the mixes, I mean, tremendously. So we have two. Hold on. So we have
fall winter early 25.
I know. We have one song that's 2 songs that are done. One is The Silent Years, and the second it's another longer song. This one's I think 20, almost 29 minutes long. It's that one's called Water in Our Hands. Um, it's just amazing stuff. We're trying to get everything done. We want to get it out maybe fall, early winter. We're gonna after we get a few more songs together, we're going to start a Kickstarter to help support the album and to get it made and to, get some other things together. Unfortunately, over the years, prices have gone up for shipping. I just mailed a CD to a guy in Costa Rica, and I think the cheapest was $40 and change. So what we're going to try to do is that. What was that, pal?
40?
Yeah, out of country. In country, it's cheaper, but even I checked. Going up into Canada, it goes up to like $30. So what we're trying to do, I'm in contact with a couple of people in Canada, and we're in touch with a gentleman over in the Netherlands to get the product manufactured and being able to distribute from over there instead of trying to ship things over there. So that's all going to come to fruition in like the next couple of months to get that Kickstarter going and to get all this information together, just so when we're ready to release and do the pre-sale, all our ducks are going to be in a row, and we'll have a definite date. And so we're shooting for fall, early winter.
What about
this year?
What about the album art and all that stuff? Have you even started?
We've been I've been taking a lot of pictures. I don't know if you've seen any that come up on the Echolyn Facebook page. I like to take a lot of different pictures and distort them, and a lot of those pictures have really caught the eye of Brett and Chris. So we may do something like that. And then I mentioned the guys from Catapult. They also run their own. They have a video company as well, and artwork and stuff that they do. They helped us out with the Window album and the I Heard You Listening album. Bill Schwartz, he's the guy over there that helped us out with that. And we'll take what I have, or if we use one of my pictures, let's just say we'll use one of mine. We'll take it to him, and then he'll fuck it up even more and make it even more interesting. So yeah, everything is in the works. That's why, like I was saying, we want to wait till everything is. We can agree on a picture, we can agree on a title, and just give you a product that will blow everything else out of the water.
Oh, so because it's good. It's been 9 years. This had.
I know. I think one of the things we're going to try to do is get a picture of each one of us, throughout those 9 years to show the difference, how we've changed in those 9 years. I'm heavier. I'm grayer. I will say I'm better looking than I get better looking every day.
Yeah, I seen a Facebook message saying about some guys already heard, like they call it the mini mod 28-minute epic. I'm like, whoever this person is, can I please go to their house here?
He's one of Brett's best friends, a guy that he grew up with and went through high school with. That's very close with Brett, and of course Brett will share. But he was sworn to secrecy, and he broke that promise.
Oh boy!
No, but he's a good guy, and I'm glad he's doing that because it stokes you guys up, enough to say get to chomping at the bit a little bit.
That's true.
Exactly.
My most anticipated album of this year because I'm thinking it's coming this year, so we can pray.
It is. It is.
There you go.
We want to get it. Brett has lived with it the longest because he's been in it since day one. He
Wow.
needs to get it out of his head so he can move on to what he wants to do.
Are we going to be seeing a single soon, potentially?
Yeah, that's what we're going to release one. We want to get a couple more songs in the can with the other
Yeah,
producer,
yes.
so that way we can start that to get the process going.
Just,
We may drop one out there for free, and then the pre-sale will have another single. So we're tossing around ideas. In fact, tonight at 7, we're going to get together via Zoom again with Brett, Chris, and I think Jordan, our new drummer, or the old drummer, who is new again with us, is going to join the Zoom.
Oh, wow.
So I think the ideas that we're going to be talking about tonight are, like I said, the getting in touch with the guy from the Netherlands, because that's pretty new for us. So we'll see what happens with that.
I guess a mini question is, how long has this album been in the works?
I think Brett and Chris started writing in 2018.
Oh, wow.
So, and of course we hit the pandemic. Chris had his fight with cancer that he won. So there's been, we would get together maybe 2 times a month when we could. And when we made the best out of those meetings, we would try to get something done that first weekend. We'd write on Saturday, go out and have dinner, drinks, go back and listen to things on Sunday morning. And then that following week, when we would get back together again, we would finish that song. And then we would, start the process over again for the next few songs. But it's been a long process. Time has been on our side because we don't have a deadline that we need to get out. I know you guys, everybody, the fans of the bands and, want it. And we do want to get it out there, of course. But I do believe it was in 2018, I think, probably in the summer, because Chris being a school teacher, it was tough for him to do things during the year. So it was probably in the late spring of 2018.
Yeah, that makes sense. So as for my actual question, what is your favorite album that you've done as a member of Echolyn?
I would say the May album. That like I said, that was the easiest one to write. I think that was at the time my best bass playing. Getting back into it for me, playing the bass on Cowboy Poems. They were shorter songs. We were in and out, punchy. Let's move on to the next tune kind of feel with that one. But May, like I said, we wanted to take our time and create something that we had never done before. So I think that one is my favorite. There are, songs on other albums that I really love that are my favorites, but an overall album, it would be the May album.
That's all. I think that it's
My
a
favorite.
fantastic album. Absolutely
It's my
fantastic.
favorite.
Dad?
Do you have any issues with the label of being a prog rock band?
At the time, yes. They did not know what to do with us. Michael's office was right next to the gentleman who handled Ozzy, and he would play our stuff for him, and the guy would laugh at him like, well, what the hell are you going to do with this? You can't market this. And Michael didn't care, and unfortunately it turned out to be the truth. They couldn't market it at the time. There was I don't want to say we weren't like Kansas, because I think they were, they're considered progressive, and they a different sound altogether. They were heavy, maybe a little more heavy on keyboards, maybe more accessible lyric wise. We were and still are, a lot different than that. And at the time, in '96, there was in the height of grunge. When we were in Nashville, Kurt Cobain had died. So it was a different time. They didn't really know how to market it. Our best way to push the band was to play live. That was the best thing we could do. We were blowing people away. We got to open up for Dream Theater for a few shows, and that opened up a good crowd to us because people had seen us at Dream Theater that had never heard of us before, and now they're great fans and they've become great friends. But like I said, unfortunately, the touring money ran out pretty soon. The booking agency that they tried to help us with, they didn't really know what to do. Their connections weren't as strong as we had hoped. So I think that's where the tension started in the band. We kept fighting. We're like, we need to go out. We can't go out. We don't have any money. So how are we going to push this? So, blah, blah, that's where the fighting started. But yeah, there was no real market for us at the time. And like I said, if we had been able to go out and play as much as we had played before we got signed,
Did you play a lot of covers?
no covers. It was all original. We didn't feel the need to. We had what we thought was, a great catalog of powerful tunes that were strong enough to carry and push. So no, we didn't do any covers.
Because when our album came out, we toured across Canada, and I remember we were still doing Turn It On Again at Genesis.
Well, yeah,
which was a crowd pleaser. We also did Blinded by the Light by Manfred
Bruce
Mann.
Springsteen.
No.
No, I know.
Yeah, we did the Manfred Mann version.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I was always surprised because even in '91 it was already kind of an old song. Like, why is that still a crowd pleaser? But it
Yeah.
was. And we did a lot of stuff from The Wall.
Okay.
I Need a
Yep.
Dirty Woman, stuff like that, because our singer was, he's a little bit more of a rock singer than he is like a weird prog singer. He's more of he's a rock singer. So, I mean, he could do those songs really well. I mean, record company kind of I think they liked him more than they liked me and my crazy keyboards because he does sound a little bit like Bryan Adams.
Okay. And more of a
Or maybe a
raspy.
bit like Don Henley. So
Gotcha.
he had a sellable voice if we could just write a sellable song.
Yeah, and I guess we had such I don't think I sound like anybody.
Mm-mm.
You have
And
a unique voice, so.
and I'll be honest, I may not be the what's the word? I may not be like when people maybe hear my vocals and they're like, "Oh, no, thank you," kind of thing. Which is, it hurts, man. But you got you deal with it. For those few people that may not dig it, there are those who do. So
Yeah.
it all evens out in the end.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to approach the live show like Brett and I were, like the Who would, just come in and just take no prisoners. Just the live shows got pretty violent. We would love to just thrash around and bounce and which was something different. With the style of music that we played to come and see how we moved on stage. We did a benefit with Annie Haslam from Renaissance, and I was told not to attend because she didn't want me on the same stage. So I don't know what that had to do with anything, but I don't know if she didn't like the vocals. Maybe she didn't just like me, but she didn't want me around for the show, so I didn't go. Wah. Well, I don't know what my point was. I'm sorry. I started to ramble.
No, it was just about, again, about what you had how the live shows were, as you release an album, what do you play live? And you're saying you played the back catalog?
Well, we did the last show we did, I think, was in 2011, believe it or not. And we were still playing a lot of songs from The End Is Beautiful for that show.
Yeah.
I think most of that album is portrayed on it's actually on YouTube. You can find that one on YouTube. It's pretty good. But that was I think that was the last time we played out live. So if we do get a chance to go out and play live again, there's going to be a lot of the back catalog that we have not played out yet. From the Windows album, from the new album that'll be out, and from I Heard You Listening.
Oh.
So that'll be fun.
John?
Oh, me?
Yep. Yeah, I think you have one.
Okay.
Yes,
well,
you.
this is the last question, but it also made me think of another. Okay, so you mentioned labels, so I'm gonna get this out of the way real quick. A simple question. Okay.
Sure.
Kind of a two-parter can be answered all. Okay. Since you mentioned Sony, if I'm not mistaken, with the first album, or some affiliation with that, now that Sony owns Inside Out Records, did the band ever was contacted by Inside Out or try to get on Inside Out at all? And also, do you have to warm up your vocals before you do your takes in a studio, or you do them on a spot?
Bless you.
Sorry.
The first part of the question, Brett released an album with a good friend of ours and a good friend of his, Jeremy Beck. The album is, and the band is called Rise Twain. I don't know if you guys know that. You should check that out. It's really a great album.
I haven't heard of that.
They were signed by Inside Out Records.
Yeah.
So it's in our back pocket, but we're not ready to push that yet. We want to see what this the gentleman I contacted up in Canada can help us out with, and what the gentleman Peter from, I think it's Dutch Music Works, what he can help us out with over in Europe, before we reach out to somebody like the guy from Inside Out Records. We still want to keep everything in house as much as possible. But so that option is there for us.
Yeah.
And the second part of your question, I'm kind of OCD as far as when I'm working on a song, I'll just keep playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it and singing it and singing it and singing it. So it's there in my head when we go to record. And a lot of times, I might listen to it once on the way over to Brett's house, singing it a little bit. And then we'll, depending on time of day, we'll just maybe crack a beer, head up into the room and sing away.
Right.
Maybe the first few takes, it may be, you might have a few lines that are keepable, or that we're able to keep. But then I'm starting to loosen up. I don't like to do, too much. Even if we were playing live, I wouldn't do any warm ups. I'd just go in and just sing.
They're not Glenn Hughes, who takes 3 hours to warm up his vocals in a studio, which is probably one of the greatest vocalists.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I'm not as good as I could be, but I'd rather just go in, and we also would do a lot of, when we would play out live a lot, we would practice a few times a week. So it was always there. But now, like I say, I just, with the amount of times that I listen to the music, writing the words, it's there in my head. So when it comes time to do the actual recording, I just go in and, we just try to get, sometimes it's raw, and that's the beauty of it. It depends on the part.
It's nice to learn that y'all go to the studio after everything's written, because I thought y'all went to the studio, and that's why I asked the last question. I forgot that part, because some people, they sound better after they warm up their vocals and then do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and it's unfortunately, it's about money too. You don't want to go in and
Right.
waste. And I'm not. It's not. I shouldn't say it's not a waste of time. You don't want to go in and not be prepared right away. You want to go in and we're all counting on each other to be ready. So I liken it as a job. You don't. I don't go in the morning and noodle around, do whatever. I go in, I clock in, and I go out on the floor, and usually somebody's up walking around in their underwear. So I grab them up and say, "Let's get ready for breakfast, pal." So I try to do the same approach to with the music. You just go in and you know I'll go in and take my pants off, and then we go sing. No.
Jeez.
What do you have down as a guide track? Is it a keyboard bit or is it?
No, it'll be the song. It'll be the whole tune. Sometimes maybe if Chris is playing a strong melody that may throw me off a little bit, I'll just have Brett bring that down in the mix so I can hear so I can hear myself a little more. But it's the song. Everything's there.
But I mean, when you first start a song, what do you put down as a guide track?
Oh, well, for us, we would cut the track. We would do a rough cut of the track, and then Jordan would go in and play the drums to I think what Chris would do. Chris would go in and play a rough track of the song. So he would go in, and Jordan would play to a rough track of Chris's keyboard parts for Jordan to play. And then I would go in and guy would play to Jordan's drums. And then, everybody else would pile in on top of that.
So, because I remember back in the late 80s when I was recording with Terry Brown, that it would always be me who had to create the guide track. So it would be a piano, right? Or whatever, some keyboard. And then after that, people would have to remember where they were. But nowadays, we demo everything. So we have a demo. So we put it down as one of the tracks, and we're just playing along to the demo. And because you're almost just trying to recreate the demo. I mean, you may change a keyboard solo or a guitar solo, but most of the other parts are pretty much the same as they were on the demo, just better quality, right?
Yes, exactly.
We just play to our demos.
That's what we do. It's easier that way. That way. The thing is, though, you don't want to get what we call demo love. I'm sure everybody else calls it the same thing. You don't want to get attached to the original recording too much because, you could create some real magic doing the real take. And, a lot of times things change. And that's what we're trying to do. Brett keeps stressing with each mix that he sends us that from the guy that he's working with, like things are a little different. Don't try not to think of the original mix. Listen to this with open ears. Not that there's anything drastically changing, but there are maybe like an effect on the drums or an effect on the bass. Maybe some of the keyboard parts have been muted, and maybe some of the guitars have been muted. Maybe some of the vocals have been muted in spots, just so it can create, so everything serves the song the best way it can. And
Zoltan, do you hear that? That's very, very good advice that you're getting right now from Ray, because we have on our 2018 album and our 2020 album, we and on the one we're just finishing now, we had dug up some old demos and we said, geez, these are really good. Let's redo these songs. Yeah. And unfortunately, my son has fallen in love with the demos. Dad, why did you change your keyboard solo? I didn't really change it. I was kind of trying to do the same thing, but that original keyboard solo on the demo was completely improvised. So you want me to sit down and learn it note for note? I mean, the magic of the solo was that it was improvised.
Yeah.
That's where it had the raw energy. And I guess I could just learn it note for note, but that's not very much fun. I kind of want to try and just do another solo that has the same feeling, but Maybe not the exact same notes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
because you would
Yes.
lose the feel of your original one if you, like you said, if you tried to learn it note for note, because it's not the way it came out. You know,
but
you
then
weren't
he always
thinking.
tells me, but it wasn't as good. I said,
That's
yeah,
not
that's
what I
because
say. That's never what I say.
that was 1993, and I was like 25 years old. And
Jeez.
the old hands don't go quite as fast as they did back then.
No, you're right.
Wow. Jeez. Wow. My own
What
father
was that?
throwing me under the bus. Jeez. I do have one
Go
more
black,
question
or
for
was
you.
it just me?
I do have a.
Dalton,
Hmm?
did your screen just go black, or was it just my
No,
computer trying to go to the
I think it's
screensaver
on.
and I saved it?
I think
Oh,
it's on
that's
now.
what that sound was.
Oh. I do have one more question, and then we'll get on to the subjects here. Do you prefer recording the studio version, or do you prefer the live versions that you guys go out and do in front of people?
Um, two different animals. You know, there's the camaraderie that you build when you're in the studio, and like when depending on who's under the microscope at the time or on the hot seat, um, they're in there doing their job, and you know we're out there relaxing, eating pizza, you know, doing whatever we're doing, and then you know you're not focused until it's your turn to go, and then you have to focus on what your job is. The live thing, you know, everybody has to be on the same page at the same time. The whole, you know, anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. You all have to be together, and for me, that is where the magic happens. I mean, from like I wrote this down. I guess it was last night. I was running through the questions like from the load in or the drive to the venue. You know, the load in, you know, everybody's busting each other's chops, you know, the sound check, you know, the
Yeah.
time waiting, you know, after the sound check is over, before the doors open, before you go on. And then, you know, that little bit of energy, not shouldn't say a little bit, you know, the rush of energy before you go take the stage. And then it's a different world. And for me, that was it. I loved playing live. I still do. Um, it's ecstatic. It's you get addicted to the adrenaline of the show and the not that the nights some night we would have bad nights or bad songs where it was you could feel the train just about to go off the rails, but you know sometimes it would not too bad. Somebody would make a mistake and everybody would turn and look at that person like yeah I know, but it was the presence of everybody else in that moment that would help pull that person back in, from the train wreck that they were just about to get lost in.
Yeah.
So yes, long story short, again, live, always live.
All right. So, does anyone have anything else they would like to ask?
No. Hopefully my computer stays in here because I think I'm having tech issues. I don't know if my laptop is going bad because the pixels are all bad or it needs a reboot, but if something goes awry, I might have to rejoin.
That's
But
okay.
we should be good. We should be good for now.
All right. So,
Just wanted to give you a heads up in case something goes wrong and I disappear or whatever.
yeah. All right. So, I think we're going to move on to the second subject.
right.
So, this was a subject proposed by Dad, and I think that this was a very good subject to talk about because prog festivals that have existed, such as Nearfest, that one no longer exists, which is very sad. We do have Cruise to the Edge, which is quite the lengthy and big festival in itself. And then you also have Morse Fest, which is awesome. But I think the main focus is when it comes down to the actual disappearance of all these. What is that? As a band member and a lover of music, what does that do for you there, Ray?
The Nearfest was great for us because it was, for me, it was, like a 40-minute drive up to where Chad and Rob would hold it up in Bethlehem. And I always used to like to go up on the weekend, even if we weren't playing, because we would get a table and we would sell merch up there. That was always a great weekend, just to see everybody you hadn't seen in a year. Everybody's getting a little older, a little grayer, a little heavier. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, you would miss a couple people because they, would pass away. But there's another one in, I think it's Prog Day down in North Carolina that we got a chance to play. And that's still going on. I belong to their Facebook group, and they're getting ready to start to announce bands for I think they do theirs Labor Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
So, that's still happening. And that's been, I want to say, almost 30 years.
Wow.
It's a lot smaller. It's outside, so they have to deal with hurricane weather. I think with Chad and Rob, I think it just got to be. Now, I don't want to speak for them, but this is just my opinion. Just too much to do for two guys who had daytime jobs. Maybe if you are if that's all you did, you'd be able to focus on that year round.
Yeah.
But with everything that they have going on with their family lives, I guess it got to be too much for them. I would not do the cruise to the edge. I don't like the water.
Yeah.
I don't. Plus, I'll be honest, when we're done, we like to leave. I would feel like I was held captive, even, before the show, depending on when we would play. And then even after we played, we would always do an Irish exit. When nobody's looking, we'd get in the van and, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Time to go.
That's awesome.
There are tons of new bands that are worth listening to. I think that's what Prog Day tries to do. They try to get a lot of young bands, new bands, and try to give them an outlet for people to finally get to hear what they get to do.
Yeah.
I think you would need a production company nowadays, because they brought back Lollapalooza. They brought, they have like the heavy metal fests over in Europe, but I'm sure that's all those people do. There would have to be somebody that would want to dedicate a full year to putting these things together again. And I guess, in my opinion, really, to get things started, and you would need a concrete venue. I know, what's the other one? Progstock. They started doing things, I guess, a few years ago. That's the one that they hold in Jersey. So, they struggle because it's getting tougher now for people to afford things, which is unfortunate. Rooms, travel, tickets. Some even to pay the artists. So there's a lot of things to think about when to put these things on, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but once you're hit with the moniker of Prague, a lot of times it turns people's noses off, no matter what you sound like. People hear that like, oh, they think of, and that's, I'll be honest, when we first started, we didn't think ourselves as prog rock. We were just a band, and we didn't have like a label. We were just us. We were just Echolyn. And then when people started to say that we were prog, and I grew up on, like I said, Ozzy, Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, the metal stuff I did not like. I didn't own and I still don't own a Yes album, or I dug Genesis, Crack the Sky, Camel, and those guys, but I didn't think we sounded like them. But once they said prog, like, oh crap, here we go.
Jeez.
We're not going to get any girls.
Aw.
but I did meet my wife at a show, so at one of our shows. So I did get a girl. Yeah, one. And we're still married today. 29 years later, we're still married.
Wow.
But I think to get back to your question, I'm sorry if I'm rambling again. I think we would need somebody that would have to dedicate, a year-round thing to this.
Yeah, I understand.
To do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. These festivals.
Zoli, I was just going to mention that I was at Nearfest 2000.
Yeah.
With your mother.
Yeah.
Who I'm no longer married to. And I saw Echolyn on the Friday night. And I bought
in the heat.
It was in a bar somewhere.
Yeah.
And all I remember is that Zoltan's mom, who's 5'2", couldn't see you guys. I could see fine. I'm 6'1", so I was okay. But I don't remember it being much of a visual show anyway. I mean, I loved the music and I loved you guys, and I bought Cowboy Poems Free, which still to this day is one of my favorite albums.
Yeah, thank you.
And
thank you.
that I mean, you guys were selling it at the desk there, so I bought it. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a nostalgic thing now. I mean, because I never went back to the Nearfest. I mean, although I now am married to an American woman, so we've taken the kids down to Bethlehem, and right, Zoe, you've been down to Bethlehem and been to the Brew Works, right?
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic place.
So, I mean, I love the place,
Mm-hmm. I think we called that night Heat Stock, because we had the only visual thing we had. I think hundreds of candles on stage, and then there was like 600 people in the bar, and there was no oxygen left with the candles and everybody. But that was a great show.
Well,
and we made a lot of new friends, and got to see. I think that was our first show back. Playing live again, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the first time we got to play live again. That was a great night.
Wow. As for does anyone?
Yes, Zoli. I know. I've seen everything. That's because I'm pretty close to 60. So I never saw Pink Floyd in the day. So there you go. I didn't see that, but I've seen everybody else.
Yeah. Well, that's way better than my.
Zoli, I took you to see Rush, buddy.
You did. That was my first ever concert. That was fantastic. Man.
And speaking of touring, a friend of mine sent me this like 2 to 3 days ago, where the future of prog bands from Europe may not be a possibility, including on these cruises, because according to this post, the application fee if you're an artist per person used to be $460 to get a visa. Wow. Now, after April 1st, it's $1,615 per person, and for a band of 4, that's $6,620. Now, and if your application is rejected, there's no refunds. So,
yeah,
I remember Hasse Froberg mentioning this, why it's so hard for the Flower Kings to tour USA. But after this is quite scary.
Because then the band needs to ask, for at least that amount of money to break even. We did get a chance to tour Europe in 2005. We were lucky enough to make money. We didn't make a lot, but we made some money. And to do that again, I don't know if we'd be able to,
Yeah, because it's probably the same amount of fees to go over there as it is for them to come here. And
it's
crazy.
It's And another, I think, with us too, one of the things that is killing us is, the streaming. We don't make money anymore. Um, as far as, like CD sales, we have two distributors that will give us an annual order. One gentleman is from Utah, and unfortunately his name escapes me at the moment. Um, I apologize to him. And there's another gentleman in Wales overseas, but they're the only two distributors that really contact us with a
Frank
yearly.
Walker from Symphonic is in Utah.
Yes, thank you. And
Symphonic.
I think the gentleman's name is Will
Will
Carolisi.
Caresi from Will Mackey from Carelsi Music is also with Cartridge, and I order from them all the time.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah, they're the only two that we that really give us orders anymore. So it's tough that way. That's why we're trying to, with the new album, we're going to try some different formats, try to get it out differently, and we want to take the world back.
I think that's a great idea.
If you're wanting to go through Germany, there is a website called justforkicks.de. They sell a bunch of prog music. So if you want to try to get your foot into Germany, there's them.
Yeah, I think we used to deal with them years ago. I'm not sure. We can always reach out, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. So,
yes,
there is this one other subject that we have, which is the American progressive rock scene, which is an open discussion, and because
is there such a thing?
There is.
Yeah, I guess you do.
I'll be honest. The only two bands I know. Now this is because I have a different. I don't listen to. I listen to death metal and black metal more. More than anything else.
Wow.
I know the T Club. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
I know them.
And if you guys don't know them, the bass, the singer, one of the brothers, just did a short stint with Kansas playing bass. Until their bass player, I don't know if he was sick or maybe some kind of needed a leave, so he took over for him for a little bit. And Discipline.
Wow.
We used to play with Discipline back in the early '90s. We would do a lot of gigs out in Michigan with them, and they would come out here and play with us. But honestly, for me, they're the only two that I know. You could probably say names and like, oh yeah, I know that band. But honestly, I say that again.
IZZ, they're from New York. What's got a Laura Mead? I think they played near
Fest. It's
yeah.
I do, yes, and I apologize. I do know them.
Y'all and IZZ are like my two favorite American prog bands that are still making music today.
Yeah, they're about to release something, I think, in September.
No, it's actually out in June. I got it pre-ordered.
Okay.
I pre-ordered today.
Oh wow!
Nice. Okay. I stand corrected.
I guess you could throw in. I guess you could throw in a bit of the early Kansas, right? Spock's beard.
Yeah, I never. I'm not going to throw shade. I never.
No.
I don't like. They didn't. They didn't do it for me.
Spock. My Lubitar's from New Jersey, but I don't know.
Yeah, we used to play. We used to play with them in Baltimore. Years ago, yes, I could say give you names of American prog bands, but now like I said, I know Discipline, who still play, and the T Club, and yes, I forgot but yeah, I'm doing this Zoom on my phone, or I go back in and like some of the catalogs of bands that I just picked up. But yeah, I'll go from. I still listen to Nat King Cole. I'll listen to Sufjan Stevens. I don't know if you guys know him. Just very wide range of bands, but I think listening to some of the quote unquote prog bands, it just makes me angry. So
Yeah.
I tend not to listen to it
Why is
that
that?
often.
Why is that?
Why?
This crate right
honest,
here is this crate has 80 something CDs in it. They're all from 2024. Every album. I'm a diehard collector.
wow.
Holy man.
Well,
What you were
that's a
saying?
lot of albums. Yeah, I don't know why it makes me angry.
I want to put
I
Echolyn in the crate.
I am an angry. I do have an underlying angry tone, so I am an angry person most of the time anyway. So it may
But
not take much for me to say, "Oh, fuck this. This sucks." I think that's why I listen to a lot of the heavy metal because it calms me down. They're angry for me. It's
Oh
like
yeah,
having a
oh, yeah.
secretary.
Mhm.
You know,
Brian, that's your favorite thing. He's got an Iron Maiden album behind him. You might want to
yeah,
get
Jeez.
acquainted with it,
yeah,
right?
John,
Sorry.
I'm I'm a very libertarian kind of guy, so it's kind of like, live and let live. As John knows, I absolutely
Do not like
do
metal.
not like metal at all. I don't listen
Okay.
to any of it, but it doesn't mean I listen to only prog. I probably listen to mostly jazz, I would say. But
hmm
Mm.
maybe even though I was just a punk teenager in the 70s,
Yeah.
I'm much more of a 70s kind of like, America and,
Oh,
you know,
sure.
Seals and Crofts. I mean, it's summer now. That's what
hmm
I'm going to be
Pat
telling
Metheny.
Walter. Put on the dad rock mix.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a in fact, bringing up America, there is a an opening line on I forget the name of the song on the new album that it is America. As
Oh
soon as
well.
we started singing, I sang the line, and as soon as Brett did the harmony, it's like, yep, there that is. There's America.
But
So
yeah,
you'll hear it, you'll catch it.
that's funny. It's interesting because their name is very it's funny because Dad, if I'm not mistaken, they were in Britain while they were recording the first one, weren't they not?
Well, they were American children
Yes.
of American soldiers that were stationed in England.
Yeah, exactly.
How America met
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
as an American.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I,
that's
It's
sort of,
fun.
I was just because what Ray was saying is it makes him mad. I was just wondering because, you know, the I listen to a lot of the stuff that's coming out because Zoltan shows me a lot of stuff and John sends us stuff as well. And I mean, for me, Dream Theater is just a metal band. I don't hear any
mhm.
prog at all. I'm just like, that's not prog at all, buddy.
No.
Prog has keyboards. It has Hammonds and Mellotrons.
Hmm. It's a
We do have a lot of Mellotron on this album.
Oh yeah, I did see that on the video. That
Yeah,
Brett Hall's
yeah.
been putting on his YouTube channel. Um,
But a lot of it too, it for me is that what I'm trying to say is only is that, you know, do people still want to write good songs? Because, the classic Genesis stuff, those are good songs.
yeah,
Forget about
hmm
whether it's prog or not. Put on Trick of the Tail, you'll hear good songs.
Yeah, and that's we try to pride ourselves on that. And I think I think that's what sets us aside from a lot of other bands. That I think our songs are more well constructed than others,
mm,
Yeah. But
personally.
yeah, I mean, Zoli, again, I don't want to try and throw you under the bus, but a lot of our stuff is, again, it's also very song oriented.
yes, I
And
would agree.
Zoli's always saying, well, when can we play in 13? This
I've
song doesn't require,
I have
doesn't
no
require
idea
this song
when
doesn't
I've said
require
that.
any bits in 13 against 8. So I'm sorry, but
No,
I
we're
think
staying 4 for this one.
when
What?
when Suffocating the Bloom came out,
yeah,
um, I think one of his grandparents asked him to play a certain part from that song because they really liked it. So he went to try to learn to play it for him, and he didn't play chords in that part. It was just for lack of a better term, just a guitar solo. So he couldn't write or he couldn't play that part back for them because it was not really they wouldn't get the song, they just get that guitar part. So I think that opened his ears, and which helped us to get back to writing quote unquote songs. So it's more structured, there's more song structured or song oriented than parts, like we were
Yeah.
back, when we were younger, when we could play like that. Now it's more, like, can you play head right? Oh yeah, here's it. This is exactly how the song is, and it will sound like that every time you play it, because that's what the song is, you know.
I've heard the evolution of Echolyn, and I would say the band now, I would say that when you look back and listen to albums like, Suffocating the Bloom and As the World, you get a lot more of the, because it's a new band and you guys are just coming out. It's very fresh and extremely just. It's high energy, right? Because you guys are brand new. You're just entering the scene. You guys are. It's your third album by then, and your second.
Yeah.
And your fourth, because I would say that energy continued on with. I would say it didn't really start really dramatically changing. I think you guys actually became a little bit more grungy when you guys put out The End Is Beautiful, but then immediately afterwards you put out one of your more soft and embracing albums that you ever released, which was 2012's Self-Titled, and then you just evolved on that same concept with I Heard You Listening, which I think is one of your better records. Honestly, I love that. That's great.
So is there any conflict in terms of songwriting, like in direction?
To get to that point, you're correct about the the energy of the newer albums or the older albums. A lot of reason why The End Is Beautiful is a lot darker. We were going through personal issues in the band, not as a band, but in our personal lives that affected the darkness of that album, and the lightness of the Windows album was more like healing. There was also personal things going on for the I Heard You Listening album. So this next album is, even though it's kind of a mix of light and dark on that album. The next album, where let's just call it Water in Our Hands. That's just a working title. That, don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
It's lighter. It's more, like you said, it's more embracing. There's, getting over the issues, or getting through the issues that we had.
Yeah.
You'll notice that Paul isn't on the album anymore, so we lost him, or he's not in the band anymore. We lost him, and there was a lot of darkness going on, and I think this one, it's more of an embracing the next step with this album.
Because
so in that, just as a follow-up to that, is it one part? Isn't it like Brett's songwriting that is driving this album, or is it one person, or is it?
No, we wrote everything together. Somebody may come in with an idea. Like I have a couple of tunes that I brought the skeletons in for, and same with Chris and Brett. But as far as the words go, Brett and I really work hard on the lyrics, and a lot of the lyrics will bring the darkness. But I always try to. I work myself into hell, and then I work myself back out of it. And I think Brett does the same thing. We try to get in and fight through what we're going through with the way we write and what we write.
Yeah, it's
like on The End Is Beautiful, the song Arc of Descent. Brett
Great
singing
song.
about um, shooting himself in the head, or the character is killing themselves in a hotel room where the blue smoke hovers still around my head. It's committing suicide.
Jeez.
So there is all that darkness wrapped up in the beauty of what's coming out, and that's the way I try to write. And if I don't know if you guys know my album, This Is My Halo, that I released in 2003, that was all about depression.
Oh, wow.
So I tried, I battle with that every day. I got a tattoo on you can't see it there. It's an elephant crushing a person, and it's the depression is the elephant, and it's crushing me. So we all have our darkness, but we try to write our way out of it. So there's always that bit of darkness with what we try to do. It's just that I think this one, the way we wrote it with just bass drums and no, sorry, not bass drums, bass, keyboard, and guitar, it's lighter in that sense. Although there'll be like a lot of dark chord changes, but it's lighter in feeling. I hope.
But is there what I was trying to get at is there like one person who's more of a driving force than the other guys, or do you
No, it all depends. Like I said, it all depends on who has that idea that week. If Chris has been really excited about a part that he came up with in his classroom before the kids came in that week, and he's like, I really want to get you guys to try this. So, we'll go that route. Or Brett will come in. I've been doing the same thing. Like, I got this guitar part. I really want to see how you guys feel about it. There's no this is we're going to do it this way. It's all it used to be that way a little bit early on, but
and was that you?
we're all too old. We're too old to do that anymore. We have to love what we do.
Yeah, I mean,
then,
for my band, Zoltan probably can tell you. I mean, I'm basically the driving force. I'm paying for all the recordings, so well, basically my wife is paying for it, but because obviously I'm off now because of my predicament, and I was actually, you may not look it because of this hair, but I was a banker for over 20 years. I'm a mathematician by training. I have a PhD, and I worked in credit, coming up with all the credit scoring, that the models that will decide whether a bank should lend you money or not. What's the probability that you'll pay us back? That's my professional background.
Gotcha.
Other than I mean, we even back when I had a record deal back in 1989, we never made enough money to ever quit our day job. I mean, back then I used to work in factories. I built freezers for 5 years. It was terrible. And that's why I went back to university. I said, I can do better than this. I went back to university and I said, okay, I'll just stay here because I was that, the weird long-haired kid at the back of the room who plays the piano, but also can get 98 in math without ever doing schoolwork. I was that weird kid.
Gotcha. There's you guys familiar with the band Live?
Not me.
No, they had some really big hits back in the early 90s. They were, at least maybe down in the States, they got to be pretty huge. We used to play at a place in York, Pennsylvania called Grand Falloons. And one night we're setting up, and these two guys come out of the kitchen. They're watching us do the sound check, and they're talking back and forth with each other, and the waitress comes over like, those two guys are in the band Live. I'm like, so they just got signed to let's say Epic Records, and Jerry Harrison's going to be producing their album. Like, yeah, right. What the hell is a band that just got signed to Epic Records? Jerry Harrison's going to do their album. What are they doing working here? And after our album came out, what did we have to do? I was a dishwasher at a place in Broad X, which is in our area here, and Chris was a not a bus driver, a bus person. So we both had to get jobs to support ourselves while we were waiting for the album to come out.
Man.
So yeah, it's a tough business, but we love it.
I mean,
that kind of goes back to your story about I forget where I was going. I apologize.
it's fine. But I think when it comes down to you guys as well, you guys are relatively iconic in terms of American prog. But I would say that you guys really found a very strong identity early on, and then you just solidified that later. I think it's interesting because you guys are of the American prog scene, and you guys have great songs on these albums like Imperium Views. I love that one. Speaking in Lamp Black, which is probably one of my favorite songs you guys have ever done. I think
Thank you.
But it's weird because you listen back to the stuff that like for example on As the World, and I hear tiny bits of like, I would almost say that it fits more it sounds more like vintage British prog almost in a weird way. Like you hear the Gentle Giant aspects, which is, I'm not entirely sure how much of an influence that was, or although during those days, the Gentle Giant, considering all those, specifically the intro of that album, holy wow.
Yeah, Gentle Giant they were brought up a lot back in the early days, and that was one band that when they said that you sound like Gentle Giant, I appreciate them now. I can get into them now.
Yeah.
At that time, I was like, what the hell is that guy singing? Why would you? There's so many other beautiful melody lines you could float over top of what they're doing, but that wasn't the thing. His voice was another instrument. So like I said, I can appreciate that now. Back then, I was like, what the fuck is that guy doing?
Right.
Chris and Brett were more, they knew Gentle Giant better than I did then. But honestly, when we got together as a group, we were listening to Alice in Chains. We were listening to Soundgarden. We were listening to Kate Bush. We didn't go like purposely try to write something like them or like anybody really. We always just try to be ourselves.
Yeah.
So any comparison is probably by accident, really.
Yeah.
That's very strange, isn't it, Zoli? Because when there's bits and pieces in the early catalog that sound so much like Gentle Giant, you just think they must be sitting at home and drinking Gentle Giant for breakfast.
Yeah. Because oh man, I would say there's also a lot of moments now though that you guys have, because I don't know what you guys are listening to now, because there are moments where I'm thinking, even speaking in Lamp Black, I'm thinking, are you guys sitting around just like, we're Echolyn, but we also like listening to Keen. That's a great band. Like
I do. Yeah, I listen to Keen. Those guys, Chris listens a little bit. Brett, I don't think is particularly fond of Keen.
But oh well.
Yeah,
guitar player.
To each his own. To each his own.
Right.
Exactly. There's no guitar player in the band. What is it? Just keyboards, drums. Well, back when they first started, it was keyboards, drums, and
that's all you need.
Singer.
Keyboards. That's all you need.
If you ask Keith Emerson, then yeah, but what you were saying, Brett?
When I think when we wrote May, I was heavily into Coldplay at that time. And you could hear it in some of the parts. I can hear him in my head. Like I can't give him to you right off the top of my head, but I can hear some of the way I approach some of the vocals to the way that guy was singing. So I tried to
Right.
expand me that way.
Mm-hmm.
But always in the back of my mind is AM radio. I will always have Nat
Right.
King Cole and Disney in my head trying to do vocals,
Yeah.
vocal line. And the Mills Brothers. I forgot the Mills Brothers. They were huge for me back in the day.
Mm. I see.
The original boy band.
Yeah.
Don't forget to go buy the best new era Black Sabbath box set to Tony Martin there. It makes Ozzy not so good. Now he's gonna want to get off the Zoom. Oh God, we're not. All eras are good. I just prefer to Tony Martin.
Okay. Is that out yet, or I know it's coming out soon?
It's come out today, but it's not coming in the mail tomorrow from Amazon.
Okay.
Got delayed, but it came out today.
Nice.
Oh,
I have
wow.
to check that out.
One of the albums is not in that box set due to a Warner Brothers licensing issue. I forget which one it is, but
So then, Ray, you don't feel like you're in competition with Spock's Beard or anything like that, like or the Flower Kings or Transatlantic.
Yeah.
You were not in competition with them? Is that what you're saying?
But do you sometimes feel that in order to get your stuff heard, people to actually buy it, that you got to kind of be in competition with? Because I sometimes feel like the album's got to be able to compete with whatever IQ or Flower Kings come up with, or people just won't listen to us. Because if we don't get a decent review on Prog Archives or whatever, we won't. Which so far we're not getting much. So
I will say this with all due respect to those bands.
Yeah.
Fuck them. We are Echolyn. We are Echolyn.
Yeah, I have the same attitude towards what I do, but then often it's to my what I hear, I understand people have their, they're doing a review and they see it through their eyes, and
of course,
and they see us as kind of, I don't know, AOR or something. That's where described it. I'll just say, well, I'm trying to make sure that we actually have good songs on this album,
Yeah.
Because to me, the good 70s prog like Ambrosia and Genesis, and yes, they could write good songs. Yeah, there's some good playing, and yes, I'm still going to do a fast keyboard solo. Don't worry about that. But we have to have a good song. Nobody wants to listen if it's not a good song. And so, you know what I mean? Like, I think the reviewers that review it is if it doesn't have a 45-minute epic, it's like, okay, next. Right?
Yeah. We write to satisfy ourselves, and that's it.
Great.
And like I said, I have nothing against those other bands. I just had for the shock value. I don't listen to them. I just don't. It's not that we've tried, and they're not our. We got to play with Transatlantic once. I think it was on the Cowboy Poems tour.
Yeah, the Nearfest.
I believe that.
This was
the Nearfest 2000 when I saw you. Transatlantic was the headliner.
Oh, I don't remember.
Sorry, Happy the Man. Yeah. Happy the Man was Saturday headliner, and Transatlantic was the Sunday headliner.
Okay, after our show, we hooked up with Tom. That was the first time we hung out with Tom since he left the band, and then we went to a strip joint. So we missed all that. Where was I going? Oh, we played with Transatlantic, and their manager gave us 45 minutes to play. At 30 minutes, they wanted us off the stage, and we would not relinquish the stage. So they told the union workers there to start taking apart the drum set. So as we're playing the last couple of songs, they were taking apart Paul's drum kit, taking away the percussion that we had. The sound guy was trying to get to our sound guy to turn the volume down and basically get us off the stage. So I've got bad vibes from them.
Yeah, I had the same experience warming up for Lawrence Gowan, who's now the lead singer in Styx.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he was sort of a pop star in Canada back around that time. Right?
Gotcha.
I mean, doing sort of I mean, he took Gabriel's band, so he was like literally that guy was copying the late 70s Peter Gabriel or the mid 80s Peter Gabriel. And
Hmm.
but it's good. I mean, I respect the guy. He's a good singer and all that stuff. But yes, he sabotaged. We were thrilled to be having this warm up in Toronto for Larry Gowan, and yeah, he
Hmm.
made sure we didn't have a sound check. We went on. The guy had to do the sound check during our set. It's like crazy. And then
Wow.
yes, it was like yes, you've got to 30 minutes. We're taking you off, but
Hmm.
and shut
Yeah.
them
Jeez.
down and just shut them down, turn the faders down, and that's it. They're done. So I think we
Yeah.
just ended kind of like, well,
Yeah.
okay, I guess the song's done, and we walked off, and that's it. I mean,
The only
we never talked to the guy, but I mean, I understand what it is to be completely sabotaged.
Oh yeah.
the only guy that was nice was Pete uh, from Marillion. He was the only nice guy.
What? Wow.
We couldn't even. There was a yellow line that we had a yellow piece of tape that we had to stand behind before we were allowed to load the gear on stage. And what's the guy's name? Royney,
Right now, yeah.
Yeah.
the guitar player. Wouldn't he just kind of stood about 6 feet in front of us, wouldn't let us pass that yellow line because he was noodling on the guitar, just
Oh my
noodling, just standing there noodling, and we're like, we got to get on. He's like, nope. His road is guitar tech's like, nope, not yet, nope, not yet, nope, not yet, and we're just so that like first impression kind of thing. It just pissed me off.
Mm.
wow.
Um,
'Cause that's one of my favorite guitar players.
well, we were who we were, and they were, this was, I think it was their first album, so they were trying to do something. They're this
Makes sense.
progressive super group, but it was in our home city. Like,
Oh,
get the fuck out of our way. Let us do our thing. And the thing that Pete said, I'm not sure who he said it to, but I know he said it to either Brett or Chris. He's like, you guys were tight, too tight. And I
Oh.
think that's why they wanted us to get off the stage, because we were kicking ass, and they didn't
Yeah.
want us to kick ass.
Oh well. Some people
Yeah,
were
well,
just
but that
intimidated
was
by
my
good musicians.
that's a horror story.
Yeah.
We all go through that though.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Is there anything else anyone wanted to get in? Yeah.
Really, I think you've done.
Got like
I've said enough.
30. He's got like 37 minutes where he's got to do another thing. We got to let this guy eat, man.
Yeah, I
Shoot.
know. I agree.
It's been a pleasure talking to all you guys today. I
Yeah,
really appreciate it,
absolutely.
man. Thank you.
I'm very glad that you were able to join us. Thank you for joining us, Ray. Thank you very much.
No, it's my pleasure for sure.
I thought I had I thought that was great. I think
Yeah.
if
Hopefully, I answered all your questions and
I think so.
gave you enough to
Yeah.
stay tuned for the new album as well.
Oh yeah, we're very excited.
We're looking forward.
Anticipating.
We're looking forward. Yep.
Are you going through therapy, pal, to get the left side back together? If you don't mind me asking, are you going through therapy?
I did
Just trying to-
physio today. Zoli, my son Zoltan was there today. He was pushing me around, and right now it's like I'm walking, a couple 100 feet with a
Nice.
cane, but that's about as right now. I just had on Monday I had Botox, so they're trying to loosen up the because I'm sure it's with a stroke is that your hand is just my left hand is just clenched like that, right?
Gotcha.
It's
Yep.
very difficult to get it to, and my left leg is borderline useless.
Okay.
And up and I mean, I had the stroke at 56 years old, but before that, I just wasn't a banker. I was an avid runner. I was running in the neighborhood. I was like 10K a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it wasn't like I was an unhealthy person.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I had high blood pressure, but then a lot of 56-year-olds have high blood pressure.
I do. I'm 62 now, so Trying to
But
pace myself.
but I just it was on a Sunday morning. There was nothing, no warning sign or anything. I got up. I talked to my wife. I said, "Let's go for coffee." She said, "Okay." I got up, and the next thing I was on the floor, and they were calling 911, calling
Yeah.
emergency because my wife thought I had a heart attack. But every test since then has confirmed that my heart is perfectly fine.
Wow.
Right? So there was nothing to do with it. I think it was work-related stress.
Yeah.
As
Me
you
Yeah.
too.
as
Me too.
as any one of you can imagine, when you're because I ran a department of mathematicians. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I started out as the junior guy, but eventually I became the department head, right?
Mm.
Which is good for a
Gotcha.
bank, make good money.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
it just eventually the stress, just the expectations, what they expect you, the financial goals are easy to put into Excel, but impossible to make happen, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the
I
kind
got you, bud.
right. I think that's what really got me eventually. It's just
Mm.
right. Like I felt it all the time, right? Like, like executives coming and saying, what is the profit for this year? What do you mean, what's the profit for this year? I don't know how many people you're going to lend to. I don't know. I can tell you what the probability each individual is to pay you back. We can do a calculation, but how much people are going to want your product? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, believe me, that's not the job of a
But if you
statistician,
do,
right?
you'd be richer because you'd be a fortune teller. Predict the future.
Yeah, it's crystal ball stuff. And I keep
Mm-hmm.
telling
Yeah.
all it. I've been saying that since, for 15, 20 years of my career. Statisticians don't read crystal balls. We do math. That's
Yeah.
all we
Yeah.
do. We can tell you the equations. Give me the textbook, I'll tell you what the equation means. That's what I know. And I can
Yeah.
Right.
tell you how you can apply the equation and tell you that this equation means that if you get a good sample, it will give you within this, like it's like a poll. It's like doing a poll, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this margin of error, you're going to get this amount of write-offs.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get a recession, you can kiss all those estimates goodbye.
Right.
Because
Right.
when we go into recession, people don't pay their credit card. They pay their mortgage, but they don't pay their credit card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right,
so
man.
yeah,
Good luck. Good luck getting back.
thank
I
you.
No, you're welcome, my friend.
So I think that that about wraps it up for the recording process. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.